What's up everybody, and welcome back to my next video. This video is going to be pretty different from my normal stuff because I'm not working on the bus. This is a product review video. Now, I'm not a product review kind of guy, and that's not what this channel is, but when I was doing research for this particular product, there was absolutely nothing online. And now that I've gotten into it, I think there's a little bit of information that people out there should know when researching this company to this particular product. So let's get right straight into it and do a little review. Today we're looking at the smart door lock from DatoHome. The specific product we're looking at is a smart door lock L-F500. Now, it's a pretty sleek looking product, and it has fingerprint unlock, a password unlock, key unlock, as well as Bluetooth unlock. That's what they market on the box. Besides that, you could also use a magnetic chip card as well, and that's included with the product. Let's unbox this thing and take a look at what the product actually looks like. While I'm opening this up, I want to explain why I ended up with this product. I am using this on the front door of my bus conversion, and I wanted a way to get into the bus without having to keep a physical key on me. Now, the Bluetooth is handy, you can use your phone, but if I don't want a key or a phone, I wanted a keypad lock. When researching the options for RV specific keypad locks, this one was just $20 more expensive than the most reasonable keypad RV locks. So I went with this one because I like techie things, so I wanted to try it out. Before I want to cut my holes in my door, I want to assemble this and test its functionality to see that everything works as far as electronics, everything powers on, everything communicates right, as well as everything locks properly to keep things out. That's important in a door lock, naturally. So let's get this thing assembled, let's go through our hardware bag and put it all together and see how things work. So it comes with these threaded tubes, and this is what's going to attach onto these set screws that are in the outside, on the outside plate. So this set screw goes here, and then this is going to carry those threads through your door and allow attachment of your front piece. I've put batteries in this front plate, so if I plug this in, it should power up and work. This little guy has a little arrow on it. It has about 180-degree range of motion, and I'm not sure which way it's supposed to latch, but we'll start with it pointing the direction of where I'm going to put my latch. We have what looks like a very standard door latch. It has even marks in standard and metric as 2 3/4 inch back set and 2 3/8 inch back set, 60 mil, 70 mil. You can adjust how deep the back set if you're installing this on a door that has previously determined holes. Now, I want the thinnest back set as possible because I don't have a lot of room to work with on my door, so we'll leave it at that, but I'm not installing it right now again. So we'll slide this on our tube here, and if I hold everything in place, we should see that our latch actuates. I need to remove the battery cover because behind the battery cover is where the top mounting hole is. Okay, so here's our mounting hole on the top. Here's our mounting hole on the bottom. Great. So aside from plugging it in and actually having this firmly mounted to a door, this is basically assembled as if it was on a door. Fantastic. Let's plug it in and see how it wakes up.
Operation failed.
Whoever's idea it was to put a speaker on this thing had a bad idea. That's just my opinion. This product review is not a how to set up your door latch. This is more a review on how it functions and whether or not it is up to par with my expectations. That being said, I have gone through the app and gotten everything set up so that electronically it's working appropriately. Now I can demonstrate that by going into our app. Right now it says it's locked, but I've entered my fingerprint, so if I go here, cool, sounds good. I've also generated myself a code, so if I So several forms of entry have been determined and entered, and electronically it works. Let's see how physically those entry methods respond with the hardware that this thing has been built with. Currently, if I turn this inside knob, my door actuates. If I turn this outside knob, it also actuates. Now let's unlock it. Wait, why was that actuating? It should be locked. Well, let's take a look.
Unlocked.
Unlocked. Opens. Great.
Locked.
Locked. Still opens. So there's a problem. Let's look at this. Here's my analog lock switch that's on the back side. This is on the inside of the bus. So if I would say I want to lock it, nobody can get in, I can't get out, great. Locked. Shouldn't do anything. What? Why is this happening? My door's locked. I can still get out. People can still get in. There's problem number 2. We're gonna have to look at that. So far I have 2 issues to address. This lock switch and how it doesn't lock the door, as well as the lock motor on this side that should be disengaging my deadbolt. Let's do a further teardown and take this apart in a way that lets us inside and we can see what's going on and try to fix those problems. Okay, so here we are on the inside of the interior panel. So here's our pigtail. It's attached to this tiny little circuit board. It has a positive and negative coming out of our battery bank. Here it looks like this outer panel has these grooves. Okay, so that's what is keeping this knob from turning to the right. I can turn it freely to the left. It has a nice spring-loaded reaction, but I cannot turn it to the right. Down here is my mechanism. It's the back side of my manual lock switch. Let's take this face piece off and see what's going on. Piece just came off. It looks like it's resting on this pin. There's a small hole, and that hole goes on this pin here. I think these teeth just need to be facing the opposite way. And now if I slide this up, it actually interacts with part of that mechanism up there, and now I can't turn it either way. Okay, well there's one problem solved. That's just backwards. This little plate was upside down. That's ridiculous. That is just poor manufacturing, poor assembly process, poor quality control to have a minor piece like that assembled completely upside down. If I have this unlocked, I can freely rotate this and lock it. Problem 1 solved. Before I bought this, I asked a question on Amazon to see if I could get any responses from the company as to whether or not this piece is weather resistant and dust proof. They didn't have any sort of IP65 rating on this product as to how water and dust resistant it was. So I asked, and they said, oh, it's rated for interior and outdoor use. It should be waterproof and weather resistant. So I went ahead and bought it. Now, I am somewhat surprised, needless to say, that on the back side of my exterior panel, I can see the switchboard. I can see the computers, the control unit. Like, how waterproof is that? Here is the information from my fingerprint sensor coming into my control board. Here's power from the batteries coming in from the opposite side. And there's several of these other plugs coming off that go to the other electronic components. Down here is the entry for the micro USB, and that goes to this plug. This one powers the motor. So signal from this plug goes out and actuates the small motor that determines whether or not the deadbolt is engaged. And this plug goes to the speaker, which is nice that there's a little plug, because I will unplug that and never have to listen to that speaker again. Fantastic. Let's look closer at this lock and this actuator, this little motor, to see what's going on and see why it's not actually locking. We have a very similar plate that we had on the inside panel that allows only 90 degrees range of motion and only in one direction. I can't turn it to the left on this one, and I can only turn it to the right. Here's this little mounting hole for my square pin, and this piece has about 180 degrees range of motion. It's loose sitting in there, and it can move that much. The correct orientation and an incorrect orientation. And I don't know what is what, and I gotta figure that out. The instruction manual doesn't specify how that is meant to be oriented. Let's take off this faceplate and see if we can get a look at that and determine what's going on. Oh, so that's where our range of motion is being determined, is because there's a tab on the outside of this. We can go that way, or we can go this way. Now without that faceplate on guiding my motion, I can actually turn this to the left and to the right, and both have a spring actuated. So in theory, if I wanted to change which way this knob worked, if I would flip this plate over, now I would turn it this way. So let's plug this in and take a look at how this motor engages whether or not it's locked or unlocked, and see if we can figure out a way to get it to actually lock when it says it's locked, and get this guy plugged in. Okay, well, first of all, we need to unplug that speaker, because I'm not going to go listen to that speaker forever.
Operation failed.
See, that's gonna drive me nuts. But doesn't talk to me. Nice. Don't have to listen to that lady again. Now let's take a look at this motor and how it works. So when it unlocks, it pushes this U-shaped plastic piece up, and I can actually manually move that in towards this mechanism. Now if we look closely, we'll see that that's actually pushing a pin into there. Let's unlock it again with my fingerprint. Unlocked, locked. So if I unlock it, then I turn this. What I'm finding is that the difference between locked and unlocked is whether or not that pin is engaged into here. So let's look at what that pin is going to interact with on this piece and determine how we can get this to lock. We have some indentations, right? And that is where that pin should be traveling into when that pin is engaged in the unlocked state. If I have that here and I engage the pin and put resistance on this, that's going to open because the pin is making sure that this turns with the outer housing. Now if the pin disengaged and I put resistance on here, that one's not going to move. Maybe that arrow really needs to be aiming away from where my deadbolt latch goes. Let's take a look at that and see how that works. I'm going to assemble this partly so I can test that theory. So earlier when I assembled this and played around with it and tested it, I had that arrow pointing in the direction of where my latch was going. That was just an assumption on my part. Whether or not that's a fair or reasonable assumption, that's I guess up to you, the viewer, to determine. Maybe I am bad at assuming things and I should have assumed that it goes this way. So let's put on our deadbolt and see if it actuates while locked, like it was doing earlier. And if I hold this in place, oh, so now I'm turning the handle on the back side, but my latch isn't going anywhere. Now let's unlock it and see. Unlocked. Ooh, locked. Doesn't turn. Wow, okay. We learned something. We figured it out. Let's get everything put back together and see if that's going to solve our problems once and for all. Okay, everything's put back together, everything's plugged in. Let's test the two things that we had problems with earlier. Number one, let's take a look at how this works with our locking mechanism. So right now, that'll open the door. Right now, that won't turn. That won't turn anywhere. Woof! Alright, we're in business. This is working much better. So, the lock works right now. I haven't installed it on my door. I haven't cut my holes yet for it because I wanted to make sure it functioned properly. Now, let's talk about the couple things that we learned in this video. One, assembly defects? Really? Like, how hard is it to put the piece together the right way the first time? If you don't have the resources or the know-how to start getting into something like that, then be a little bit cautious about jumping in with this lock. As far as instructions for assembly, believe me, I read through the user manual and it details instructions on how to operate the app. That's pretty much what it explains inside the user manual, is how to connect the lock to your phone, which is great because some people can't really intuitively work their way through that. But the electronic part of getting things set up was a breeze for me. However, it did not explain how to physically assemble the lock. So that little piece inside that had 180-degree rotational tolerance with the little arrow on it, there was nothing in the user manual as to how to assemble and what orientation to put that piece. It took me tearing it apart and examining how things worked to figure out how to actually assemble it properly. Again, if you don't have the means to tear something apart like that to figure out how to make it work, then this lock does not come with good enough instructions for someone to just open it and out of the box be ready to rip. You would have to look up something like this video to help you figure out how to operate it. As far as the build quality, let's talk about that really quick. The outer casing is made of metal. It looks good. It feels hefty. The back plates are both steel. The screws are all substantial. All the important components are made of metal, which is great. It has a good, solid feeling build quality. The springs inside these, they feel pretty good too. This one more so than the backside, so it feels pretty great. Once you get inside those covers, however, everything is made of plastic. The inserts for where these screws screw into are all plastic. So, you know, deep down, questionable build quality, but that's what you get for an affordable piece of equipment. Again, whether or not this is actually waterproof is a total mystery to me. This hole in the backside of the outer panel that leads straight to the motherboard is somewhat concerning for me, but believe me, when I install it, I'm gonna make sure that no water can get to that part. Anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this informational. I hope you learned something, and I hope it helps you make a decision as to whether or not you're gonna pursue this smart door lock L-F500 from DatoHome. Anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this informational, and I hope it helps you make a decision as to what you are going to invest in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.